Sarah Chen sat in her chair and looked around the huge meeting room. The ceiling was so high she could not see the top. Thousands of seats filled the space, each one holding a different alien from across the galaxy. Their strange voices mixed, together like a storm of sounds she could not understand. She was the only human in the room. Her chair was smaller than the others and placed far from the center. The other aliens had made sure humans knew their place in this council. The Zelhari speaker stood at the front. Her 6 arms moved as she talked. Her voice was sharp and made clicking sounds. "The humans have done wrong things again," she said. "They built new colonies without asking us first. They made weapons that scare other species. They will not share their new space travel technology with the rest of us." Sarah felt tired. This was the 3rd time in 5 years they had this same meeting. Every time humans did something good, the other aliens found reasons to stop them. Every time humans discovered something new, the aliens demanded to control it. She remembered when humans first joined this council 20 years ago. They were so happy to meet other intelligent life in the galaxy. They thought it would be wonderful to work together with all these different species. They were wrong. The first problem started when humans built faster spaceships than anyone else had ever seen. The aliens said this was dangerous. They made rules that humans could only build slow ships. When humans found a way to grow more food, on desert planets, the aliens said humans were changing nature too much. They made rules about what humans could grow and where. When humans discovered new medicines that could cure diseases no one had ever cured before, the aliens said humans were moving too fast. They made rules that humans had to wait 50 years before using any new medicine. 50 years. That meant millions of people would die while waiting for permission to live. Every human success became an alien fear. Every human discovery became an alien rule. The Altarian representative stood up next. His blue skin glowed as he spoke. "Humans are too violent," he said. "They solve problems with fighting instead of talking. They build weapons when they should build art. They explore dangerous places instead of staying safe at home." Sarah almost laughed. Humans were violent? The Altarians had fought a war that lasted 300 years. They had destroyed 2 entire star systems fighting over who owned them. But when humans defended themselves against pirates, suddenly, humans were the violent ones. The Vegan Confederacy speaker was next. She was tall and thin with silver skin. "Humans do not respect the old ways," she said. "They change things that have worked for thousands of years. They ask too many questions. They do not accept that some knowledge should stay hidden." The Vegans had kept the secret of faster-than-light communication for 5,000 years. They only shared it with species they trusted. Humans had asked to learn this technology so they could talk to their far colonies. The Vegans said humans were too young and too curious. They might use the technology wrong. So humans invented their own communication system. It was faster and better than what the Vegans had. The Vegans were angry that humans did not need them anymore. One by one, every major species stood up to complain about humans. The Centaurians said humans asked too many questions in science meetings. The Draconian Empire said humans did not show enough respect to older species. The Silicon Collective said humans moved too fast and changed too much. Sarah listened to every word. She had heard these complaints before. She would probably hear them again next year and the year after that. The other species seemed to think that complaining would make humans stop being human. The vote was no surprise. 847 species voted to punish humans. Only humans voted against it. The punishment was severe. Humans could not build new colonies for 10 years. Humans could not develop new weapons. Humans had to share all their technology, with a council committee that would decide if other species could use it. But the worst part was the new rule about human expansion. Humans could only live in the solar system where Earth was. They had to abandon all their other colonies. Millions of humans would have to leave their homes and return to Earth. Sarah stood up slowly. The huge room became quiet. Thousands of alien eyes looked at her. She reached into her jacket and pulled out a small pin. It was made of silver and had the symbol of Earth on it. This pin showed she spoke for all humans in the galaxy. She held the pin up so everyone could see it. Then she placed it on the table, in front of her. The small sound it made seemed loud in the quiet room. "Humanity withdraws from the Galactic Council," she said. Her voice was calm, but everyone heard her clearly. "We joined this council because we wanted to be friends with other species. We wanted to work together to make the galaxy better for everyone." She looked around the room. Some aliens looked surprised, others looked happy, a few looked worried. "But you do not want friends," she continued. "You want servants. You do not want partners. You want humans to be quiet and do what you tell us. You want us to stop being curious. You want us to stop exploring. You want us to stop trying to make things better." An alien from the back of the room shouted something. Sarah did not understand the words, but she understood the anger. "We tried to follow your rules," Sarah said. "We tried to be the kind of species you wanted us to be. But your rules are not about making the galaxy safer or better. Your rules are about keeping humans weak so you can feel strong." More aliens started shouting. The noise grew louder. Sarah waited for them to stop. "You say we are too violent, but you start wars. You say we are too curious, but you hide knowledge that could help everyone. You say we move too fast, but you have been doing the same things for thousands of years while people die from diseases you could cure." The Zelhari speaker tried to interrupt, but Sarah kept talking. "You gave us a choice," she said. "Follow your rules or leave your council. We choose to leave. From this moment, humanity will have nothing to do with the Galactic Council. We will not attend your meetings. We will not follow your rules. We will not ask for your permission." She picked up her papers and put them in her bag. "You wanted us gone," she said. "Now you have what you wanted. But remember this day. Remember that you chose this. When you wonder why the galaxy feels smaller and darker, remember that you drove away the species that wanted to help you reach for the stars." Sarah walked toward the door. Her footsteps echoed in the silent room. No one tried to stop her. No one spoke. As she reached the door, she turned around one last time. "We tried to play by your rules," she said. "Now we will play by ours." The door closed behind her with a soft sound. In the meeting room, thousands of aliens sat in silence. Outside, Sarah walked to her ship and sent a message to Earth. The message was short. "Come home, all of you. It is time." 3 months had passed since Sarah Chen left the council meeting. 3 months since humanity said no to the galaxy. Now everyone was starting to understand what that really meant. Admiral Marcus Webb stood on the bridge of his ship and watched the last human transport leave New Geneva Station. The station was huge, built around an asteroid in the Ross system. Humans had spent 50 years carving tunnels and rooms into the rock. They had made it into a beautiful place where 3 million people lived and worked. Now it was empty. "Admiral," his communications officer said, "the last family is aboard. All humans have been evacuated from New Geneva." Marcus nodded. "Send the message to Earth. New Geneva evacuation complete. Station ready for abandonment." He looked at the empty station, through his window. The lights were still on. The air recycling system still worked. The farms still grew food. The factories still made things. Everything worked perfectly. But no humans lived there anymore. This was happening all over the galaxy. Every human colony, every human station, every human settlement was being abandoned. But they were not being destroyed. Humans left everything working and clean like gifts for whoever came next. The aliens did not understand this at first. They thought humans were being lazy or stupid. Why leave valuable things behind? Why not take everything or break everything? But Marcus understood. This was not about things. This was about sending a message. The first aliens to arrive at abandoned human places were excited. Free stations, free cities, free technology. The Altarians quickly moved into the mining colonies in the Kepler system. The Vegans took over the orbital shipyards around Proxima Centauri. The Zelhari claimed the farming worlds that humans had built in 3 different star systems. At first, everything seemed to work fine. The aliens moved into human homes and used human tools. They ate human food and worked in human factories. Some aliens even said humans had done them a favor by leaving so many nice things behind. But then problems started. The mining equipment in the Kepler system was very advanced. It could dig deeper and faster than anything the Altarians had ever seen. But when it broke, they could not fix it. Human machines were built differently than alien machines. They used different principles and different materials. The instruction books were written in human languages with human thinking behind them. After 2 months, most of the mining equipment had stopped working. The Altarians tried to replace it with their own machines, but their machines were slower and less efficient. Mining production dropped by 60%. The same thing happened with the shipyards. Humans had designed amazing new ways to build spaceships. The ships were stronger, faster, and more efficient than anything other species could make. But the aliens could not understand how the construction systems worked. They could copy old designs that humans had already built, but they could not create anything new. The farming worlds had even worse problems. Humans had learned how to grow food on planets where nothing should be able to grow. Desert worlds became gardens. Ice worlds became farms. Poisonous worlds became food factories. But the aliens did not understand the complex systems that made this possible. The Zelari tried to keep the farms running, but without human knowledge, the crop yields fell by half in the first season. By the second season, some of the farms failed completely. The desert world started turning back into deserts. Meanwhile, strange reports were coming from the Sol system where Earth was located. Long-distance sensors showed massive construction, projects around Earth and the other human planets. Energy readings were off the scale. New structures appeared every week, some of them larger than entire cities. But humans had stopped all communication with the outside galaxy. Their space was now completely closed. Any alien ship that tried to enter the Sol system was politely turned away at the border. No threats, no violence, just a simple message. This space is now restricted. Please return the way you came. Admiral. Webb smiled as he thought about what was really happening back home. The galaxy thought humans were hiding like scared animals. They had no idea that humans were building something incredible. The truth was that humans had been holding back for decades. Every time they invented something new, the Council made rules about it. Every time they solved a problem, the Council said they were moving too fast. Humans had been forced to work slowly and carefully, always asking permission, always explaining themselves. Now they did not need permission from anyone. Dr. Elena Rodriguez had sent him reports from Earth. The projects there were beyond anything humans had ever attempted before. They were building new types of space stations that could support millions of people. They were developing faster-than-light travel that made their old ships look like bicycles. They were working on artificial intelligence systems that could think faster than any human brain, and they were doing it all without worrying about what other species might think. The aliens had told humans to stop exploring dangerous areas of space. So humans had mapped every dangerous area in the galaxy, and were now exploring them all at once. The aliens had told humans to stop developing new weapons. So humans were developing defensive systems that made weapons unnecessary. The aliens had told humans to share their technology, so humans were creating technology that no other species could use or understand. Marcus received another message from Earth. The evacuation was ahead of schedule. Every human in the galaxy would be back in the Sol system within 2 more months. After that, humanity would have complete freedom to develop without alien interference. He thought about the aliens who were now struggling with abandoned human technology. They had wanted humans to go away. They had wanted to take over human colonies and use human inventions. They thought they could have all the benefits of human creativity without having to deal with humans themselves. They were learning that it did not work that way. On his personal communication device, Marcus had messages from alien friends he had known for years. They were asking questions. Why had humans left so suddenly? What were humans building in the Sol system? Would humans come back if the Council changed its rules? Marcus did not answer these messages. The time for talking was over. Instead, he sent a message to all human ships. Evacuation Phase 2 complete. Proceeding to Phase 3. Estimated time to complete human withdrawal from galactic space, 37 days. He looked out at the empty station one more time. In a few days, aliens would arrive here and try to figure out how everything worked. They would succeed partially, but they would never understand the human thinking that had created it all. That was the point. Humans had tried to share their thinking with the galaxy. The galaxy had said no. Now the galaxy would have to make do with human artifacts while humans themselves moved on to bigger and better things. Marcus smiled as his ship jumped to hyperspace, heading for the next evacuation site. Behind him, New Geneva Station continued, its lonely orbit, waiting for new inhabitants who would never fully understand what they had inherited. Ambassador Kethvar had known humans for 30 years. He had worked with them on trade agreements, research projects, and peace negotiations. He had even called some humans his friends. The Centaurian diplomat thought he understood humans better than most aliens did. That was why the Galactic Council chose him to lead the first mission to human space since they had left the Council. If anyone could convince humans to come back, it would be Kethvar. He was wrong. His fleet of 12 diplomatic ships dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. What they saw there made every crew member stop and stare in shock. A massive structure hung in space between the planets Pluto and Neptune. It was the size of a small moon, but it was clearly artificial. Metal and crystal surfaces reflected the light of the distant sun. Strange energy patterns moved across its surface like living things. But that was not the most shocking part. The structure was covered with weapons. Huge cannons that looked nothing like any weapon technology Kethvar had ever seen. Shield generators that made the space around the structure shimmer. Sensor arrays that were obviously watching his fleet with perfect clarity. And it was just one structure among many. Kethvar's sensors detected dozens of similar installations throughout the outer Sol system. Each one was unique, but each one was clearly designed for war. "Sir," his sensor officer said, "I'm reading energy signatures I've never seen before. These weapons, I don't think our shields could stop them." Before Kethvar could respond, his communication system activated. A human voice spoke calmly. "Ambassador Kethvar, welcome to the Sol system. Please follow the navigation beacon to Earth Orbital Platform 7. You will be met there by our diplomatic representative." A small light appeared on their navigation screen. Kethvar noticed that the beacon did not give them any choice about where to go. They were being escorted, not invited. The trip to Earth took 6 hours. During that time, Kethvar saw things that made him question everything he thought he knew about humans. Mars, which had been a small colony world, now glowed with the lights of massive cities. The asteroid belt was filled with mining operations and habitats. Even the moons of Jupiter had been developed into major industrial centers, but Earth itself was the biggest surprise. The planet that humans called home had been transformed. New continents had been built in the oceans. The moon had been carved into geometric patterns that were clearly artificial. Orbital rings circled the planet, connecting to structures on the surface with visible beams of energy. This was not the same Earth that Kethvar had visited 5 years ago. This looked like the capital of an advanced galactic civilization. Platform 7 was a small diplomatic station in Earth orbit. It was beautiful but clearly temporary, built just for meetings like this. Kethvar and his team were met by Captain Elizabeth Torres, who introduced herself as the Solar Defense Coordinator. Kethvar did not recognize the title. It did not translate well into any galactic language he knew. But Torres wore a military uniform and spoke with the confidence of someone who had real authority. "Ambassador," she said with a small smile that seemed polite but cold. "Welcome to Earth. You're free to visit and see what we've built here. But I want to be clear about something from the start. You're tourists now, not partners." Kethvar felt confused. "Captain Torres, I think there has been a misunderstanding. We're here to discuss humanity's return to the Galactic Council. The Council realizes that mistakes were made. We're prepared to offer significant changes to the rules that concerned you." Torres nodded politely. "I'm sure you are, but humanity is no longer interested in the Galactic Council. We tried that approach for 20 years. It didn't work out." "But surely you can't mean to isolate yourselves forever," Kethvar said. "Humans have always been explorers. You've always wanted to be part of something bigger than yourselves." "Oh, we're still explorers," Torres replied. "We're just not interested in exploring with species that spent 20 years trying to stop us from exploring. You wanted us out of galactic affairs, so we left. This is what we've been building instead. She led them to a viewing wall that showed the Sol system. Kethavar could see the massive construction projects, the new cities, the incredible technological achievements. But he could also see something else. Fleets of human ships leaving the system in directions that did not match any known galactic trade routes. Where are those ships going? He asked. Exploring, Torres said simply. There are billions of star systems in the galaxy that your council has never visited. Entire regions of space that your species consider too dangerous or too far away. We're mapping them, studying them, sometimes settling them. Kethavar felt a chill. You're expanding without council approval. We're expanding without council involvement, Torres corrected. We don't need approval anymore. We don't need permission. We don't need to ask anyone if it's okay for humans to be human. During the 3-day visit, Kethavar saw wonders that made him realize how far behind the rest of the galaxy had fallen. Human medical technology could now cure diseases that had killed billions of people for thousands of years. Human manufacturing could create materials that were stronger and lighter than anything the council species had ever developed. Human transportation technology made their old ships look like ancient sailing vessels. But the most impressive thing was not the technology. It was the humans themselves. They seemed different, more confident, more focused, more unified than they had ever been when they were part of the galactic community. Dr. Sarah Chen, now calling herself Director Chen, met with Kethavar on his last day. She had been the ambassador who walked out of the council meeting 6 months ago. Kethavar, she said, I know you're a good person. You tried to help humans when you could. But you need to understand something. The council didn't just reject our technology or our colonies. You rejected us. You told us that being human was wrong. That's not true, Kethavar protested. We just wanted you to be more careful, more considerate of other species. You wanted us to be less curious, Chen replied. You wanted us to stop asking questions that made you uncomfortable. You wanted us to stop solving problems that you had decided were unsolvable. You wanted us to stop being the kind of species that sees a challenge and says, let's figure this out, instead of, that's too dangerous, let's avoid it. She walked to a window that showed the Earth below. Cities covered the continents, connected by transport systems that moved at incredible speeds. The oceans were dotted with floating platforms that harvested energy from waves and currents. Look what we built in 6 months when we stopped asking for permission, she said. Look what we accomplished when we stopped trying to make everyone else comfortable with our progress. This is what humans can do when we're free to be ourselves. Kethavar looked at the transformed planet and felt something he had never felt before: fear. Not fear of human weapons or human aggression. Fear that his own species, his own civilization, had become obsolete. What do you want from the galaxy now? He asked quietly. Nothing, Chen replied. We don't want anything from you anymore. We'll trade with species that want to trade fairly. We'll share knowledge with species that respect what we're sharing. But we're not coming back to your council. We're not asking to be part of your civilization anymore. She turned to face him directly. See, Kethavar, we've realized something important. The galaxy doesn't need humans to be part of the galactic community. But humans don't need the galactic community to reach the stars. We can build our own future with or without you. As Kethavar's fleet prepared to leave the Sol system, he sent a message back to the council. The message was short, but it changed everything. Humanity has not withdrawn from galactic civilization. They have surpassed it. The war started in the Vega system when the Krillian Empire decided the time was right to expand their territory. The Krillians had been preparing for this war for 50 years. They had built massive bioships that could heal themselves when damaged. They had created hive mind technology that let their fleets work together perfectly. Most importantly, they knew that human military advisors were no longer helping other species defend themselves. The first attack came without warning. Krillian bioships dropped out of hyperspace around Vega Prime and immediately began attacking the orbital defenses. The Vegan Confederacy fleet tried to fight back, but their ships were too slow, and their coordination was too poor. Within 12 hours, the entire Vega system had fallen to the Krillians. The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The Krillians were using new weapons that seemed to be alive. Their ships could repair battle damage while fighting. Their coordination was perfect because all their crews shared one mind across multiple ships. But the worst part was that the galactic defense systems could not stop them. For decades, different species had relied on human tactical advice and human-designed weapons to keep the peace. Now those advantages were gone. System after system fell to the Krillian advance. The Altarian colonies in the Kepler region lasted only 3 days. The Draconian Empire's border worlds were overrun in a week. Even the powerful Silicon Collective found their mechanical armies outmatched by bioships that adapted to every attack. Panic spread through the Galactic Council. Emergency sessions were called every day. Military leaders from dozens of species tried to develop strategies to stop the Krillian advance. Nothing worked. The bioships were too different from anything they had fought before. Finally, the Council made a decision that many members thought they would never have to make. They sent an emergency diplomatic mission to the Sol system. They needed human help. The delegation was led by Chancellor Vexhai of the Draconian Empire, the same alien who had voted to expel humans from the Council 6 months earlier. He brought representatives from 12 major species, all of them desperate, enough to ask their former victims for help. The humans received them politely at the same orbital platform where Kethvar had visited. But this time, Director Sarah Chen herself came to meet them. "Chancellor," she said calmly, "I understand you're having some problems with the Krillians. How can we help you?" Vexhai was a proud creature who had never asked anyone for help before. His scales changed color with embarrassment as he spoke. "Director Chen, the Krillian Empire has invaded 17 systems in the past month. Our combined fleets cannot stop them. We need human military assistance." Chen nodded thoughtfully. "I see. That does sound like a serious problem. What exactly are you asking for?" "We need human tactical advisors," said the Altarian representative. "We need human weapons technology. We need human ships and human soldiers to help us fight. Basically," added the Vegan delegate, "we need humanity to rejoin the Galactic Military Alliance and help us defeat this threat." Chen was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was still calm, but there was something cold in it. "Let me make sure I understand this correctly," she said. 6 months ago, the Council voted to restrict human military development. You said human weapons were too dangerous. You said human tactics were too aggressive. You said human exploration of dangerous regions was destabilizing the galaxy. The alien delegates looked uncomfortable. They all remembered those votes. Now you discover that one of those dangerous regions contains a hostile species with advanced bioweapons, Chen continued, and you want humans to use the military technology you tried to ban to fight the enemies you didn't want us to explore. The situation has changed, Vexhai said desperately. We see now that we made mistakes. We're willing to lift all restrictions on human military development if you help us. All restrictions? Chen asked, including the ones about human expansion? Including the ones about sharing technology? Including the ones about independent exploration? Yes, said multiple delegates at once. Yes, all of them. Chen smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. That's very generous. But I'm afraid humanity is no longer interested in galactic military affairs. The Council made it very clear that human involvement in such matters was unwelcome. We respect your decision. The room fell silent. Vexhai's scales turned dark with fear. Director, you can't be serious. If the Krillians aren't stopped, they'll conquer the entire galaxy. That sounds like a problem for the Galactic Council to solve, Chen replied. Humanity will defend its own interests, nothing more. But what about your colonies? Asked the Silicon Collective representative. What about New Geneva and the other systems where humans used to live? The Krillians will attack them too. Chen's expression did not change. Those systems are no longer human colonies. Your species took them over when we left, remember? They're your responsibility now. Over the Next few weeks, the war got worse. The Krillian biofleet swept through system after system, destroying everything in their path. Refugee ships filled space lanes as billions of aliens fled their homeworlds. The great civilizations of the galaxy began to crumble. But then something strange happened. When the Krillian fleet moved to attack New Geneva, the system that used to be humanity's largest colony, they found it defended. Ships appeared from nowhere. Not from hyperspace jumps that galactic sensors could detect, but from what looked like tears in space itself. The ships were clearly human in design, but they were unlike anything humans had ever built before. They were larger, faster, and more advanced than any vessel in the galaxy. The battle lasted exactly 18 minutes. The Krillian bioships that had seemed unstoppable were reduced to floating debris. Their perfect coordination was shattered. Their self-healing technology was overwhelmed by weapons that seemed to attack their biological systems directly. When it was over, the human ships simply vanished, leaving behind only a brief transmission. New Geneva remains under human protection. This is your only warning. Similar incidents happened across the galaxy. Whenever Krillian forces attacked a location that had once been important to humans, mysterious human fleets appeared to drive them back. But the humans never stayed to occupy the systems. They never offered to help defend other locations. They simply eliminated the immediate threat and disappeared. The message was clear. Humanity would protect what it considered its interests, but it would not save the galaxy from its own mistakes. Chancellor Vexhai sent another desperate message to Earth. Please, we're begging you. Help us end this war. We'll give you anything you want. The response came from Director Chen herself. We tried to help you prevent wars like this. You told us to stop interfering. We tried to share defensive technology. You told us to stop developing weapons. We tried to explore dangerous regions so we could warn you about threats. You told us to stop being curious about things that might be dangerous. She paused, then continued. The Krillian Empire exists because you refused to let us explore the regions where they were building their war machine. This war is happening because you rejected the technology that could have prevented it. The galaxy is in danger because you chose fear over progress. Now you want us to fix the problems that your decisions created. But you see, Chancellor, we've learned something important. We've learned that some species have to make their own mistakes before they can learn from them. The galaxy chose to reject human help. Now the galaxy gets to discover what that choice really costs. The transmission ended with a single line that would be remembered for generations. You wanted to handle galactic security without human interference. Good luck with that. 2 years had passed since humanity left the Galactic Council. 2 years since the galaxy discovered what it meant to try to survive without human innovation and human help. The Krillian War had ended not with a great victory, but with a whimper. After losing dozens of biofleets to mysterious human interventions, the Krillian Empire had retreated to their core worlds and stopped expanding. They were still dangerous, but they were no longer an unstoppable force. The galaxy had learned to fear them just enough to avoid provoking them. But the war had changed everything. Trade routes that had existed for thousands of years had collapsed. Without human maintenance and innovation, the great transport networks broke down. Cargo ships that used to carry goods across the galaxy now sat in spaceports, too expensive to repair with outdated alien technology. Scientific progress had slowed to almost nothing. The great research projects that had once advanced galactic knowledge were abandoned. Without human curiosity driving new discoveries, most species had returned to doing things the way they had always done them. The galaxy was becoming stagnant. The Galactic Council still met, but their sessions were very different now. Instead of debating new policies and ambitious projects, they spent most of their time arguing about how to get humans to return to galactic society. Every few months, another diplomatic mission would travel to the Sol system. Each time they brought new offers. Lower taxes for human trade, special seats on council committees, promises to change the laws that had driven humans away. Each time they returned with the same polite refusal. Director Sarah Chen had become the most famous human in the galaxy. though few aliens had ever seen her in person. Her responses to diplomatic requests were always courteous but firm. Humanity was no longer interested in joining galactic institutions, but they would consider individual trade agreements and cooperation treaties on a case-by-case basis. This new system was working very well for humans, but it was causing problems for everyone else. Some alien species found that they could get access to amazing human technology by negotiating directly with human companies. Others discovered that humans would help them solve specific problems if they offered the right payment or cooperation. But these deals were always on human terms. Humans chose who they worked with and what projects they supported. They were no longer bound by council rules about sharing technology equally or helping all species at the same rate. The result was a galaxy where some species were thriving while others were falling behind. The aliens who had been most hostile to humans found themselves increasingly isolated. The species who had tried to help humans during the council years found themselves with access to incredible new opportunities. The Centaurian Union, led by Ambassador Keithavar, had become one of humanity's closest trading partners. Their scientists worked with human researchers on projects that were advancing both civilizations rapidly. The Centaurians had not loved all of humanity's ideas, but they had always treated humans with respect. The Altarians, who had taken over human mining colonies and then watched them fail, found themselves buying mining equipment from human companies at prices that made their mining operations barely profitable. The Zelhari, who had seized human agricultural worlds and then seen crop yields collapse, were now importing food from human vertical farms at costs that strained their economy. The irony was not lost on anyone. The species that had driven humans away were now dependent on human charity to maintain their standard of living. But the most dramatic changes were happening in unexplored regions of the galaxy. Long-range sensors detected human ships in areas that no galactic civilization had ever visited. New human colonies were appearing in star systems that aliens considered too dangerous or too far away to be worth exploring. These colonies were not bound by any galactic laws. They did not report to the Council. They did not follow galactic trade regulations. They were completely independent human settlements that existed outside the traditional galactic civilization. Some of these colonies were making contact with alien species that the Council had never encountered. Others were discovering resources and technologies that could revolutionize galactic science. But all of this knowledge and these opportunities were controlled entirely by humans. The Council had created exactly what they had feared most: a powerful, independent human civilization that was growing faster and advancing further than the rest of the galaxy combined. Director Chen stood in her office in the New Geneva orbital city, looking out at the transformed Sol system. Mars had become a garden world with floating cities and orbital forests. The asteroid belt hosted tens of millions of people in rotating habitats that looked like crystal flowers blooming in space. Earth itself was almost unrecognizable, covered with vertical cities that reached into the clouds and connected by transport tubes that moved people at nearly the speed of sound. Her assistant brought her the daily reports from human colonies throughout the galaxy. New settlements were being established every week. Contact had been made with 17 previously unknown alien species, most of them interested in working with humans rather than joining the traditional galactic community. Most importantly, human scientific research was advancing at an incredible pace. Without council restrictions on dangerous experiments or controversial technologies, human scientists were making breakthroughs every month. They had extended human lifespan indefinitely. They had created artificial intelligence that could think faster than biological brains. They had developed manufacturing techniques that could build entire cities in a matter of weeks. "Director," her assistant said, "we have another diplomatic request from the Galactic Council. They're offering to dissolve the Council entirely and create a new galactic government with humans as equal partners." Chen smiled. The offers were getting more desperate each month. Send the usual response. Humanity appreciates the offer but is not interested in galactic governance at this time. Should I mention our expansion into the Andromeda Galaxy? Her assistant asked. No, Chen replied. Let them figure that out on their own. The Andromeda project was humanity's biggest secret. Using new faster-than-light technology that made traditional hyperspace travel look slow, human exploration fleets were already establishing colonies in the nearest neighboring galaxy. In a few more years, humans would have access to resources and opportunities that the Milky Way galaxy could not even imagine. But for now, that information was staying within human space. Chen walked to her viewing wall and activated the display, showing human activity throughout known space. Thousands of ships moved between hundreds of colonies. Trade networks connected human settlements across vast distances. Research stations studied phenomena that aliens had never bothered to investigate. The galaxy had told humans that they were too curious, too aggressive, too quick to change things. The galaxy had said that human ideas were dangerous, and human progress was destabilizing. They had been right about one thing: human progress was destabilizing. It was making the old ways of doing things obsolete. It was creating opportunities that challenged traditional power structures. It was forcing everyone to adapt or be left behind. But the galaxy had been wrong about whether this was bad. Progress was only dangerous to civilizations that refused to grow. Change was only threatening to species that preferred stagnation. Humans had tried to share their progress with the galaxy. They had wanted to help everyone grow and change together. The galaxy had said no, so humans had grown and changed on their own. They had built a civilization that was more advanced, more prosperous, and more free than anything the galaxy had ever known. And every day, more alien species were quietly making individual agreements to work with humans rather than trying to compete with them. The galaxy was learning slowly and painfully that they had made the biggest mistake in their history. They had driven away the one species that could have helped them reach for the stars. Now humans were reaching for other galaxies, and the species who had rejected them were watching from behind, wondering what might have been if they had chosen cooperation instead of fear. Chen's communication system chimed with an incoming message from the Andromeda expedition. The first permanent human colony in another galaxy was officially established and ready to receive settlers. She looked out at the stars and smiled. The galaxy had watched in terror as humans abandoned the council, but they had no idea what humans were building to replace it. Soon they would find out. And then the real terror would begin.